So I'm not a developer, basically my role that I'm going to talk about is as a leader. So I think that Dr. Jones summed it up well when he said management is really oftentimes the problem. But from a high level, there's really three models that I've experienced with IT. And the first one is the wall. So there's this mysterious wall that exists between the IT organization and the rest of the organization. And they're in this, experiencing this wall. That's me trying to peek through it at one point in my career. People throw things over the wall to each other, like requirements and status reports, but they don't really talk to each other. This wall sits in between. It's organizational, it doesn't really exist, but it is actual in practice. That's the way it works. So I've worked with the wall. Then there's the bridge. So you hire some knowledgeable expert that can talk both IT and operations and business world, and they sit in the middle, and they translate back and forth. So, and I've done both of those jobs. I've fought the wall, and I've been the bridge. And I thought, boy, this is excellent. At one point in my career, I thought, I can talk both IT and the business. I said, this is really a valuable role. And I thought this was the solution to everything. And so when I started to help manage IT, I looked for people that could be the bridge. So that was one of my mistakes. And then there's the working together. How do people actually work together? And I think that's what Dr. Jones was talking about when he said, why don't we get people to sit next to each other and do some work, and maybe there'll be some magic that comes out of that. And this is indeed where we were going as an organization, where we led the organization. The problem is this creates a whole new set of problems that we didn't anticipate. Some of them people relationship problems, some of them structure and process problems, some of them very deep IT related problems as it related to the softwares and the use of those softwares. The integrated teams I like because the value of work is known and actively managed by the team. So they're working with the problem. They know what they should know what problem they're trying to solve. They know what the result is of the development that they're going to do together, and they can hold the value dear that comes out at the end of the development process. Cycles can be shorter and timed with operations Kaizen, so the improvement cycles have an opportunity to be closed with each other. The team builds knowledge together, which is one of the really big keys. Is the developers, the testers, the project managers, and the operations people working together understand where they're trying to go. They build the strategy for it, and then they take the incremental steps to move toward it. And they, as they encounter problems, so they succeed and fail together, there's just as much failure, but that's okay, because they're going to learn from that at each step of the process as well. So they're going to be in more of an environment of continuous testing, and always in an ongoing basis, and what works gets deployed and may be deployed further. The operations people would say, I can't rely on the system, it's always down. And the IT person says, my statistics show that it's up 98% of the time. So, you know, we are having this conversation. So we started to use Lean in the operations floor. And we set up these boards at every one of the production cells that we had set up, where there was time frames for work to be completed. There was planned production, there was actual production, and then if there was an issue in between, we would show whether or not we hit it. And this was used in order to optimize the operational piece on a daily basis. And guess what we found? File net down from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Hey, just the facts. So we started gathering facts, all the disconnected pieces of the facts from the operational piece. And guess what? The IT leader and the operations leader didn't point at each other anymore. They were all focused on what was happening and the facts that were out there. So just changing the culture from arguing on both sides and gathering the actual facts so that people could say, here's when it's down and here's why, became a very valuable part of the process. In addition to that, we found typically that the main corporation of Wells Fargo did pushes sometimes overnight, and it caused some of the servers to go down, and in a typical day, some of the maintenance, we required that the developers had to work on the floor 2 full days of production and hit actual production numbers. Not just go out and monkey around and see what people do, but they had to hit their production numbers every year. And so each year they had to sort of go in and get certified that they could do the work that the production people had to do. And this was a great experiment because one particular developer came back to me, this is in data lifting, and said, I built what I thought was the greatest user interface. All the buttons for progressing from one part of the screen to another were on different keys, on different places all over the place, so that it was the most accident-prone, accident-avoidant system you could ever work with. And I said, how do you feel about that? He says, it took me 32 keystrokes to move from one piece to the next when I'm doing the work. And I said, so how do you feel about the people that work with the software that you developed every day? He says, I apologize to every single person, and we're working to solve that. But the difference is this individual thought he was doing the right thing by developing this very unique, very specialized software for people to work with from their own perspective, not seeing the overall value of what was happening across the process. When they actually had to go and do the job, they hated it, and they realized how much they were making other people hate it. So every year, each developer had to pick a particular process. Over time, it became the ones that they were additionally responsible for development. In the beginning, we didn't put that requirement in, and go in and work 2 full days of production in that process. The leadership team had to get involved in the sprint and scrum stuff. So they don't just get to opt out and delegate it down to the lowest level. They needed to be participating in the sprint and scrum activities, so we made some standardized work for leadership. The senior management of each operational area had to participate in each one of the scrums and debriefs, and that's a lot of work. But the work that was avoided by doing that was far more, and the harmony that we got out of it was very valuable. And then the other thing is I wrote cooperative problem solving. So not only were these appearances of not agreeing with each other factual, some instances they really didn't agree with each other. And so we had to sit down as a leadership team, and we used the Hoshin-Conry process, the A3 that Dan Jones was talking about, to clarify our message from a leadership perspective about what we were expecting. And not only did we say, you know, we want to hit a cost objective of X cents in value stream 2, we said, here are the steps that we expect to be taken in order to deliver that over what increments of time. And we communicated that down in a catch-ball process down to the sprint and scrum teams and the operations people, and they were able to give us feedback as well as to say that's realistic or not realistic. The first year we ran our catch-ball process, we got through maybe 1 cycle in a whole year, so we found out how really bad we were at explaining ourselves as leaders. By the 8th year, we had 3 cycles in a year. And with 3 cycles in a year, we were trying to get down to a quarter. They may have achieved it by now. We were trying to get down to a quarter. That was enough information on a regular basis so that they created that harmony in the component strategies being written and the operational improvements in the actual operations piece to be synchronized with it. They could break it down from there into small enough steps for them to do the incremental development. And that was the last part of this process, was getting to that communication with each other from a leadership perspective. So again, getting the component owners, taking some of the leaders to the woodshed, and then giving an actual clear message down to our staff members around what we were trying to do was really what started to drive us towards our solutions.